This Team Speedtech cars kicked ass out here this weekend. I'm driving the 70 Camaro this weekend. It's got the Extreme IRS rear suspension, Extreme subframe. It's a fast car. Chris Smith from Tiffin, Ohio, owns Smitty's Custom Automotive. We're here in Columbus, Ohio at Summit Nationals, Goodguys' biggest event of the year, and we're here at Autocross this weekend. The gray car has been a really successful car. We've won a points championship with Optima in that car. We've won a lot of races with Optima in the car. We've won a bunch of autocross stuff in it. Best result was probably the 4th overall at Optima Invitational last year at COTA. The car's really coming around. We put a new shock package on it this year for motion control. That's really upped the game on the car. It feels just phenomenal. I'm looking forward to a bunch more wins this year. The specs on the car, we have an LS7 engine, we got a T56 transmission, got the 9-inch Ford and housing in the IRS, 14-inch Willwood brakes, Holley EFI, MCS shocks. It's got all the good parts on it. Traction control from Davis. It's Bosch ABS. It's got all the good stuff on it. It's awesome to have your family involved in it and have them come out to the events. A lot of years that you're on the road by yourself. With the kids littler, now that they're big, can drive it. It's weird. They've always been the pit crew, but now we've got one driving. So Jason's driving and Colin's running around doing all the tires by himself, and Mom's actually here cheerleading in the background. So it's really fun. The personal goals for Jason in the race car, especially starting this weekend, was I told him my goal is for him to finish last. He looks at me like I got 3 heads, and I was like, you need to learn to drive the car, you need to learn how to autocross, you need to learn all the tricks before you can go fast. Don't hit cones, don't look bad, make the car look decent, and speed up it, and it'll come naturally. He's been around this forever as well, and he didn't finish last. He actually finished middle of the pack. He finished 2nd in his class. He made the shootout. So he went way beyond all the goals for the weekend. But I tell everybody, when you start autocrossing, you can't show up and think you're going to win or have that attitude, because the people at the top of this have been doing it a long time. These cars are fast. You need to learn how to do it correctly before you can go fast, and that's our biggest goal. Is we need to learn how to make the cars happy and then keep improving the driver. We still got to learn road course and the speed stop and the slalom. So most people would probably be shocked by it. He's never made a lap till this weekend. He had never made a corner in that car till this weekend. So it was more than an impressive run. Oh geez, Colin's path, the little one. He's got a plan. He wants a 1st-gen Camaro. There's more to this. He has everything but a t-shirt made. He's got a 1st-gen, I'll have a 2nd-gen, Jason has a 3rd-gen, and he says that's going to be the finishing order. Colin has big expectations for sure, and he's bright for his age. He comes out and follows Dad around the shop, and he knows where all the tools are at, and he helps, and he's little, so he can't do as much, but he understands everything going on very clearly. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. My shop's Smitty's Custom Automotive. We're actually here in Ohio, we're up in Northwest Ohio, 20,000 square foot facility. We pretty much will do everything in-house except sewing and build motors. Got a full body shop, full fab shop, all the alignment equipment, state-of-the-art facility. It's a brand new building. We do a lot of cool stuff there. The racing stuff's a passion. I love doing it. I love being around the group. We build show cars actually. The race car is only part of what we do. It does help our business. We maintain a bunch of cars. We have a bunch of customers out here that race with us. They bring their cars. I'm hauling one home this week from the show that broke. So it helps drive the business. It helps support the business. Primarily, we actually build show cars, pro touring cars. We've built Street Machine of the Year finalists. We've built grade 8 cars. We do a lot of upper end show car stuff, but this is one facet of it. You build a show car and the customer pretty much goes out and shows it and take care of itself. I got burnt out of show car stuff, of going to a Goodguys show every weekend and waxing the car and sitting there, and I needed something to do. I don't do well sitting still. I want to be on the go, and when we're here, we're on the go. helping everybody out and seeing what we can do better and make better and go faster. And So the autocross part of it has made the car shows fun again. The dream car thing is a loaded question because it's two-part. I have a dream truck and a dream car because I still have my original 67 GMC truck that I bought when I was 15 off my dad. We lost Dad about 8 years ago, and that truck's never going anywhere. And we're actually in the process of building an IRS chassis for that right now, so we'll get that back out before long. But the dream car is actually a 67 Chevelle. I always thought the 67 Chevelle was one of the best looking cars that was ever made, so it's just, if I build a 67 Chevelle, it would be as low to the ground as we could get it, and it would just be the ultimate sleeper, you know, probably 800 horse blower motor, cruise control, air conditioning, and just drive the wheels off of it. Yeah, I'd put a full chassis under it, and I'm an IRS guy, so we'd put the IRS in it, and you know, we might even go some electronic shocks on it and put some zoomy stuff all over it. You know, it would be made just to be fun. The black truck will be the same way. We're putting an IRS chassis for it, and you know, we'll probably put an LT4 or 5 in it, and you need some stuff just to enjoy. My driving career, no, I'm not going to fall back to the kid yet. I'm not old enough for that. I mean, I'm going to enjoy watching him. You know, I want to win a couple more championships with the Optima deal and the Goodguys, and go out and do some, maybe could do some SCCA stuff or see what's out there. I really enjoy autocross, and I like throwing the cars around. The biggest thing with what we do is just getting out with all your friends and people. People don't, from the outside looking in, don't understand how tight-knit group this is. And it doesn't matter if you're on UMI or Detroit Speed or Ride Tech or whoever it is, you know, this is a big family out here. And it's fun to come be with your friends. And after having a year of not having that, just getting out here and doing it again is awesome. Coming to a car show this week that doesn't look like a medical ward has been awesome. No, and the helping, the camaraderie, the friendliness, the family that's here. If you're on the outside looking in and you want to do this, you'll have more help, more support, and more friends quicker than anything else you can do, because everybody wants you to do better. If you break apart and need a piece, someone has it. You know, there's several of us with, you know, we go up and down the road with about every spare part there is because we want to win. And fortunately, we don't use our spare parts very often. And you know, whenever you can help out, you can help out. And in this community, you touch on a little bit, if something goes wrong, this is a family. You know, this weekend, you know, Danny Pops had an unfortunate situation and everybody pulled together and we did a raffle this weekend. And, you know, I don't know what the final numbers are, but we raised a ton of money to help Danny out. It's a tight-knit group, and I don't know if it's the driving career part of it. You know, this is as much just being passionate fun as anything. We're not driving to make a career out of it, and everybody's having fun. And if you go out and you look at the field, you've got everything from entry-level cars that are about as stock as can be to full-blown race cars and everything in between. And everybody's having fun. And there's a stepping stone to get there throughout the whole thing. And, you know, we'll use Speedtech as the example. You know, we have, we have bolt-on arms. We start with some bolt-on suspension and you make your car faster, and then you get the itch, then you buy a subframe. You know, then you keep working on your hot rod and you keep making it better, and everybody helps you along. You know, no one's gonna point you in the right direction. Everybody has some brand loyalties out there, but you know, this group's here to help everybody, and once you're in it, you know, it's fun to do and it's a good time. The question was, do I recommend Speedtech for our custom car builds? And we do. It depends on the application and what we're doing. You know, they fit a lot of stuff and they don't fit some stuff, but we use a lot of it in the shop. We use Sean's car. We're putting a full IRS chassis under it right now. I think we got 2 or 3 in there and a bunch of subframes. So now that we've made the switch and the customers see the performance side of it, you know, they're well on board of running that. The biggest thing is the big front tire. You know, you look at the example being, you take a stock subframe on a 2nd gen Camaro. You can get an 11-inch wheel on there with a modded fender and cutting a bunch of stuff up, and or you could spend a few bucks more and buy the subframe and then save all the money on the labor of trying to make a whole bunch of custom parts around it. And at the end of the day, you're probably money ahead to just buy the subframe. For the streetability side of the Speedtech Performance products is how they fit into the rest of the group. They have product lines for everything. So you have bolt-on parts, you have Extreme Subframe. An Extreme Subframe is a great subframe to drive around on a pro touring car. You know, a little less spring, it'll handle as good as anything. and you get the advantage of the big front tire on it right from the get-go. And if you want to spend a little bit less money, we got the Pro Touring line, and you've got a subframe that's cheaper, and I think it even runs factory control arms if you want to. You know, we have tubulars, and you can upgrade the spindle, so there's a path to make that better, and that's a great street product. Then when it comes to the chassis line, I mean, what more do you want? You can buy a full A-body chassis that'll swallow a 335 front tire on it. You can pick a torque arm or an IRS or whatever you want. Put the appropriate shock package on it. It'll either be a race car, street car, pro touring car, cruiser. It'll do anything you want it to do. One of the biggest questions I get in the shop, and when we price out products and you compare different companies and you pick out what you're doing, is the path is when you buy your parts, you got to think big picture. So if you've got a first gen Camaro, especially a 69, and you want to run, say, a Pro Touring subframe, or somebody's bolt-on suspension package from another choice. A big problem you have on a factory spindle is the bearing pack, and the bearing pack protrudes into the rim. It leads you into making your choices maybe based on a spindle, and right here we have the extreme spindle. You can see you don't have 3 inches of shaft out here with the bearing pack. So now the wheel can be built in and you can have more hoop on the front of your rim. It also leads you into Corvette brake kits, which are much more readily available, which also leads into just, it keeps snowballing. So an entry-level guy can buy a cheaper brake kit, a takeoff brake kit, and use the spindle. You spend a little money here, you get a better looking wheel, an entry-level brake, and you can keep building your way up into a better platform. When a customer calls a shop and we're making a plan on a build, you know, you'd like to have a conversation with them and get where they're going to be at with a car. What's the plan on the car? What are we going to do with the car? It's amazing how many guys will say it's just a driver. Then you're 20 minutes in, they're like, well, I might run a few autocross laps, or I may go do one track day. Well, if them 2 sentences come out of your mouth at all, that changes a whole bunch of the parts on the car right from the get-go, because we don't want to buy stuff twice. So if you're ever thinking about doing an autocross lap or road course stuff, that automatically in my shop puts you in a floater rear end. I just won't debate it, because when you're calling me back because you have brake knockback or issues, I don't like buying parts twice, and I don't like having stuff break or having tech calls. So get them into the floating rear end, and that gets us right into the extreme front end and the extreme spindles. You know, with the right parts, you don't have to buy things twice, and that's the biggest key to getting your, you know, the right kit or the right parts for your customers, knowing what they want and explaining to them up front. Say, hey, you know, let's get this, and maybe you wait on your brake package a little bit, but you end up with the right parts to start with. And when you choose your path correctly at the end, you're just so much happier, and there's no drama. One of the biggest, I think, myths on suspension and some of this stuff is whether it's a race car part or a street car part. The geometry of what makes a car handle and act right makes it the best street car it can be. The shock and spring package make it a race car. A heavier sway bar makes it more into a race car. The gray second gen car that I race, I can drive that car anywhere. Another one of the myths is that a race shock doesn't ride well. Well, that's completely false too, because all I can do is back the compression out of it and it'll ride as good as any shock out there. There's a reason they're expensive and have a bunch of dials on them, but them dials are also confusing. So any suspension, when it has the proper geometry, and it will go up and down the road as good as anything out there. When you optimize all of your geometry, your caster, camber gains, Ackerman, bump steer, it's going to be the best street car it can be. One of the biggest things that you got to look at when you're choosing what suspension you want to run is the whole package and the whole picture. So if you're going to try to do bolt-on and your goal is to be a street car, that's great. We have products for that. But if ultimately you want to have the best stuff, you need to price the whole package out so you're comparing apples to apples. And at the end of the day, you're going to be quite surprised that when you buy a complete extreme subframe that you're done buying parts because there's nothing left to buy, and you might just be money ahead to go that route. When you look at the extreme subframe with extreme spindles and the killer rack on it, you're done buying stuff. you're not upgrading bushings and spindles and parts and brakes and braking stuff, and it's pretty much a one-time buy. And I get not everybody can do that, so you got to look at the path that gets you there and the best way to buy your part. So my biggest suggestions to the new guys is to just really look at the whole picture, and at the end of the day what it's going to cost. You look at buying components separately. You need to add it all up before you make your mind up. I think one of the biggest things to be mindful about when you're building your car or making your plans for your build is end goals, and not spending money on the same part 2 and 3 times. You're better off to wait a little bit and to piece the puzzle together in the correct order. I think that helps, having a plan. And your plan's different than everybody else's plan, but you have to have a plan, and if you talk to the sales team, they'll get you pointed in the right direction. What you're doing with the car is the biggest part of your plan. If you're just doing a cruiser, or driver, occasional autocross, your plan is critical on your build. Another part of the plan that we've completely left out of this is the rear half of the car. Set aside mini tubs, because anybody's going to run a big tire is going to mini tub your car. So take that part out the window. You get 40 hours to mini tub your car. You need to look at dollars and cents of what it costs to put all this stuff in, and the pros and cons to it, and what the suspension hooks to and what the suspension does. You have 3 links, you have 4 links, you have torque arms, you have everything under the sun. But at the end of the day, do you get to keep your back seat? Do you have bars protruding in the car? Do you have bad geometry? Do you have a 4-link that's it's a 4-link? There's a lot of 4-links out there that they're about worthless. There's some that are okay, but a lot of this stuff is built based on fitment, not criteria. So if you want something to perform and you're stuck inside that box again, maybe we need to start looking at something else. You have an IRS. That's the far as you can go. That's the extreme side. Well, a torque arm's in the same price range as everything else, and it probably will outperform it in most situations. And it's stronger. You don't have all the little issues of the 4-link. The exhaust is a little harder to route around it, but I think the torque arm doesn't get enough credit. I think it gets looked past. I'm not sure why. I was guilty of it for years, but part of it was not knowing any better. A lot of 4-links do bind. Some don't. Some companies make a decent 4-link, but you're stuck in the box of the really short upper arm, really long lower arm, hard to get instant centers right on them. They go, you got a tight window on your pinion. Yeah, because the short upper arm and your pinion angle, the two don't get along. You have a long arm, short arm, and something's got to give. So it's the pinion angle. The 4-link is a compromise of packaging more than anything on the old cars. The torque arm is free and completely floats. You got a really nice long panhard bar on it that keeps the tires centered in the wheel well. So the torque arm rear suspension kits are killer. The 3rd gen, which is wow this weekend. One of the biggest things lost on the rear half of the car is most of the rides in the rear. It just is. The front of the car has all the weight on it, and it'll go down the road, and it's usually pretty happy. The back end of the car, whether it's got a quarter tank, full tank, you want it to ride well. So, everybody kind of forgets to do some planning on the back half of the car. The one nice thing about the torque arm on the Speedtech package is the big adjustment of roll center on the back of it, because of the bracketry and the design of it. A 4-link car, you can't, diagonal 4-link car, you can't change that. And most of the companies who build one don't give you an actual adjustment on it. So that's pros, cons there on that setup. The instant center, long arm, short arm is not great on a 4-link. The torque arm, actually, it's a rock star plant and power. Especially if you wanted to go drag race, you put a lighter spring in it. It'll hook for days. The torque arm goes forward well. It articulates freely, but one other thing it does under braking, it pulls the car down. And by pulling the car down, it plants the tires, which will give you a much better feel from the driver's seat, because you don't have the car trying to pitch on you. And it stays really consistent in doing it because the geometry just doesn't change. The biggest thing I noticed in the 3rd gen car this week with the torque arm, because I am it's the first one I've had. It's very repeatable. It's very friendly. It's very consistent on what it does. You know, it's pulling the car down under braking. It's launching the car hard forward. It does it the same consistently out of all the corners. And an overreaction doesn't really change the car much. Little bobbles, it stays planted and it does what it's supposed to. And I think part of the reason the torque arm works so well with Speedtech stuff is because also the front end so well. If you don't have great geometry in the front of the car, you can't pull the car down and expect it to turn when you're not putting all the extra load on the front tires. And that's where the proper geometry on the front of the cars come into play also. So that goes back into the whole package thing again, and all the computer programming, all the time involved in getting this stuff ready. But I'm going to be the first one to admit the torque arm has outperformed what I thought it would by quite a bit. The predictability of the torque arm's confidence expiring from the driver's seat, knowing that you're going to have very consistent reactions every corner, corner entry, corner exit, mid corners, really consistent on it. So that's nice. The corner entry is really well because the car is being pulled down, and then corner exit, you know, just be a little patient, get the car pointed straight, and then allow it to put the power down, and it works really well. The clever trick thing we did on the white car, one of the simpler things we did to the car was actually we just cut the strut towers out of the car and put down bars in it and just put plastic inner fender wells in it. For multiple reasons. Time, they look good, it was easy. Let's see how much movement it has. I mean, it's the first one, it's all new, so that was pretty cool. I like the fiberglass dash in the car. I just think putting a big Holly screen in it and just keeping it simple and just really making everything as simple as that car could be was one of its strong suits, so to speak. One of the funnest parts about the build was going to the junkyard. My kid never been to a junkyard, so he's like, American pickers! He's stomping around a muddy junkyard pulling parts off a third gen car because we were missing a bunch of just random stupid parts. Little clips, dumb stuff, interior parts. We busted the back hatch out of the window of the car so we could get to the trunk latch because somehow the trunk latch got lost. The junkyard trip was just hilarious. Who's my favorite competitor? I don't know that I could actually answer that. I've got so many friends and people here. There's a bunch of them. And they're at different levels. So like, we'll talk about the vintage stuff at Optima a little bit. Dusty's a blast. Him and his dad are great to be around and hang out with, and we have some great battles. Chris Ramey's been fun. Chris pretty much kicked our ass last year in that C4 Corvette. And Chris is a really cool dude, and that car won everything overall, so he took the weight back out of the car and he's running the lights class because, he's like, well, it's that whole Corvette versus Camaro thing again. Chris is a joy to be around, and there's the Jacobs, the Ballards. I mean, I have so many friends. We're missing Danny this weekend. Danny Pop's great. Anybody that doesn't know Danny, I mean, he's one of them guys that give you a shirt off his back to help you. Actually, I don't know where to stop. There's so many great people we race with. It goes back to we're just a tight group, and it's a family out here. A couple of experiences that stand out to me in the racing, especially with the Optima, there's actually two. In the 67 C10, we raced in Pittsburgh, and we actually started, it was snowing. We won that event overall in a pickup truck, beating Danny and the whole gang in a pickup. So that was interesting that we went from snow to rain to heat. So that was kind of crazy. And the other one is it's a tie, running at Daytona and running at COTA. When you go run them kind of tracks, it's an eye-opening experience. The Daytona thing's cool. You're in the pits and you look at that banking and you're like, my God. Then you think of the names that have been around that joint, whether it's Earnhardt and Petty and all these people, and it's pretty cool going to these big fancy tracks. So that's one of the experiences that the Optima really brings you, is the tracks we go to and the fun we get to have. That, and you get to put your big boy pants on and go fast. The celebrity driver thing, Robbie and Al Unser Jr. running the Goodguys here. Vaughn Giffen was doing some stuff at Coda last year. There's been some names pop in and out we run with, and they're just like the rest of us. They're just racers. They're fun to be around. My wife will tell you Robbie Unser's a bad influence on the boys. He's pretty good at shenanigans and some funny stuff when you're out to dinner with the kids. So it's a good time. You know, back in the day, Casey Kane and a bunch of them guys did some driving stuff with us, so we got to be with them. Mike McLaughlin. So they've been around what we do, and they show up every now and then in celebrity drive or run against us. So I don't care who it is. We'll race anybody. Wait, we beat Robbie this weekend, but to be very clear about it. One of the programs we're working on here is the Team Speedtech program, which gives everybody a path to come join the team and race with Speedtech. And the bigger picture is if you want to come start autocrossing or try your hand at this, it gives you access to us. And if you shoot me a message, a text, a private message on Facebook, or call a guys at the shop, and we know what your car is, we can close up all the little gaps to get you started. We can get you in the right spring to start with. You know, we know what tires and what brakes you're running. We might recommend some which brake pad to run or which part to pick out. So when you go to the track, you can have a easy transition and have some fun. There's a bunch of us on here that are really smart guys. They can get you pointed in the right direction and get you going. And the biggest thing I can say on it is don't be afraid to reach out to us. I may not answer you right away because I'm busy or I'm in the shop, or I could be painting, or I could be simply traveling or sleeping, but I will answer you, or Nick will answer you, or any of the guys will answer you. And we've made a million laps, we've made a million mistakes, so let us learn from our mistakes so you don't have to make them, and we'll help you along the way.